Hello, Vertex farmers. It's Crocodile Arms here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the PolyVertex Governance, how it works, what it does, why we even have it, and how to use it. It can be found at vote.polyvertex.finance. The PolyVertex mission to be the most community-led yield farm in the Polygonmatic ecosystem. Governance is key to this process. If we're being led by the community needs governance in order to lead, and it empowers the community. We mentioned community so many times in our first page of our documentation. Also, governance, governed, controlled by the people. Governance, repeat, is key to the process of empowering the community. But why governance specifically and not some other system that empowers the people? Well, it gives utility to Vert, which is the future of money, by the way. Price stability, because you need Vert to hold on to in order to vote. Therefore, there's always going to be people swooping up at some nice, tasty prices. It increases community engagement because now we have stuff to talk about all the time, like this vote or that vote, or did this make quorum? Ooh, speaking of which, fun words like quorum, governance, majority, plurality, just to name a few. Yay. Forward thinking, always thinking when moon, but not just when moon, but how moon. You get a say in how moon. This is important. Strengths over Telegram or Twitter voting requires someone to be a financial supporter, can't just be a freeloader. Rewards contribution to the Vert ecosystem. And fraud is expensive. Since you got to buy your way into a vote, you got to buy your way into a vote. There's no way around it. There are some drawbacks to coin voting, but that's why we have our hybrid democracy here. So it's not just about voting in the Telegram and some polls, which is a one person, one vote system. It's not just about the core membership, those who were tapped on the shoulder because they have strong community involvement. It's not just them running the show, and it's not just about the shareholders having more risk and therefore more of a say. You need a blend. You need a system that has checks and balances, has separation of power. So that's how we do it. We're going to have the core membership make the polls to the Telegram. The Telegram users vote on the polls regarding the shareholder system here, the governance, what we're calling governance, which is on the Snapshot platform. And the Snapshot platform, or the governance, votes on how the core members do their job. So one hand washes the other in this, or one cog turns the others. How to vote. Let's go over this briefly. You go to vote.polyvertex.finance. You pick your proposal to vote on. It needs to be open. These are all closed. So I've made a demo with the same one. It's active. You can also connect your wallet at any point. So you can connect it on this screen, you can connect it here, or you can connect it once you go to vote here. So the next step, once you connect your wallet, so let's do that. Actually, let's not. So once you get to here, cast your vote, you select your vote, and then you hit vote, and it will ask you to connect your wallet here as well. But you're gonna have to click vote again. That's the only drawback to doing it that way. You think you voted, but you actually didn't. You gotta click it once more. Please review these three things, the options. Only elected volunteers is what I picked. Yes, that's good. Snapshot is 23 hours and 7 minutes ago. So I needed to have my voting power in by that time. That's all that means. And this is my voting power here. So double check, make sure that makes sense. Make sure it's not 0 or some ridiculous number. If it is, good for you. But if it's not as much as you thought it was, there could be a good reason for that. So we'll get back to that in a second. So you click vote Once it looks A-OK and you hit sign in your wallet, and it will say your vote is in down here. And that's pretty much it. I skipped one very important thing, and that's to read the dang proposal. Please make sure you read the proposal. The longer it is, the more reason to read it. The reason things get so long is because there's a lot of pros and cons. And you can't just speed through it like nothing. I even provided a video for this last one too, just to make sure that if you're on the go and you just want to listen to it and you don't have time to read it, there it is for you. Each vote has implications involved with it. Once you vote, you're not quite done. So don't just load up for one vote and then you're done. So you cash out, because there's always going to be votes that come after that had to do with your vote, and it's not going to be what you pictured unless you keep voting. For instance, there's going to be delegate elections because only elected delegates got the passing vote in that example I just showed you. The discussion board style platform needs to be voted on. So does the re-election schedule, the codification, the work instructions. It just explodes into a plethora of meta-ness. So be prepared for that. How Snapshot works. PolyVertex uses a decentralized governance service called Snapshot.org, which Balancer, Yam, Yearn, Sushi use. It uses IPFS and gasless signing. The genius of it all is that it takes a snapshot of your particular voting power at a particular block time, usually just before the time that the proposal was created. This is genius because it prevents voters from loading up on the governance token to sway the vote and then leaving. It makes duplication of your votes impossible, and it prevents flash loan exploits. So that's why we use it. To have proper voting power, and I stress this, you must have voting power ready to go ahead of time. Because of that snapshot, it can happen anytime. You got to be ready. You should always have some ready to go. And if you suspect a big vote coming up, go ahead and load up ahead of time, but you probably won't have that much warning. You must have Vert in your wallet or Vert/Vert LP staked directly onto PolyVertex before and after the snapshot. That's because your voting power is based on your Vert and your Vert LPs. So your input voting power, this is how this works. Input voting power goes into the output voting power function. Input voting power is just a sum of all this stuff, and then the output voting power is a weight that reduces the power of whales and increases the power of anyone who's not. Simply put. Welcome to read this. There is one little trick here that it's just tricky. It's not really a trick. And that's that if you're staked on any third-party vaults like CodeCoin, Paper Printer, or on a third-party farm like Platinum Finance, there's no guarantee that those assets are counted. So you're going to have to be staked directly onto PolyVertex in order to get them to work, or you can have Vert in your wallet. Vert LPs currently do not count if they're in your wallet. Quorum. Quorum rules are just minimum participation requirements. In this case, we have an ongoing vote for the number of wallets. It's looking like 5% weekly active wallets is going to be the minimum quorum, as well as 5% circulating supply total of voting power. In addition, if you have single choice voting turned on, then you are subject to plurality and majority rules. Plurality is where you have 3 or more choices and one must pass. In that case, you need 1.75% of active wallets, 20% of the voting power total of the proposal totals. So that's, let's say there's 10,000 power that was voted. You need at least 2,000 of that in order to pass. 5% more voting power than the runner-up. So you need, if you have 20% as the winner, then you need the next one up. So number 2 in position to have 15% or lower. If it's that close of a vote, and it's single choice voting, so I'm guessing that the outcome matters a lot, then it was too close to call. And it could be just a situational coincidence type of thing where somebody wasn't there to vote. It would have turned that 15% into a 20% and the 20% into an 18 or something like that. So it's too close to call. Majority rules, similar issue, except you only have 2 opposing choices. So this one or that one. In that case, you need 52.5% of the voting power total for a proposal and 2.5% of active wallets. There are some exceptions to this. For instance, if you use approval voting or any other voting technique that isn't single choice voting, there's an exception. No plurality majority rules. If it does not require a definitive outcome, like if it's a contest or just for funsies, you can kind of skip the whole plurality majority rules. And in fact, these probably shouldn't be single choice voting anyway. A revote may be untimely. So for instance, if there's a partnership deal coming up and marketing is really intent on having everything well timed with somebody else's launch, you can't have a revote. So you just got to call it where it lies, no matter what. And also, there's an exception if the main developer has publicly made an exception. Just a reminder, do not use that to get your proposal through, or to get somebody else's proposal through. You really should be shilling it in Telegram, getting it on people's minds. The reason why it's not meeting quorum or these other things is just because the people aren't thinking about it enough. And you can fix that without, crying to the developer. So please don't do that. Types of voting. Single choice voting, I went over that. There's also approval voting too. So approval voting is where you say, these I allow. Basically, there's 10 choices here. Let's say it's an election of some sort, and 10 people are running, and you like 5 out of 10 of them. So they all get your vote power equally distributed across them. Another one is called ranked choice voting, where you rank them instead of just saying, I like these 5 out of 10. You rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the number 1 choice gets more voting power than your number 2 or your number 3 or number 4 or 5 and so on. Weighted voting, it works even more. You have even more control over that. You give each choice whatever amount of voting power you want. So 200 this choice, 500 this choice, 100 this choice. Doesn't matter. And finally, quadratic voting takes weighted voting to down a notch, actually. So it applies a square root function. And essentially what that does is it makes people with smaller, or wallets with smaller voting power, more of a weighted, gives them more weight. So the more wallets, the more likely something is to win, versus if one whale liked one particular choice and put all their vert power towards it, they're going to be up against, let's say, 3 people with moderate amounts voting on another one. That one will most likely pass because it's got more wallets towards it. It's not exactly always the case, but it leans the progress towards that way. So make sure, if you think that the number of wallets should play a heavier factor, to request quadratic voting. If you ever see an issue on the governance, please let us know on our Telegram or our Twitter. Here's some information that we need from you. This is in the docs right now, and the docs can be found at docs.polyvertex.finance. Everything in this presentation and more can be found here. How to vote on proposal, how Snapshot works, voting power calculations, hybrid democracy, even proposal guidelines, quorum, wow, this is a tongue twister. Quorum, plurality, and majority rules, types of voting, and reporting an issue. Please remember to vote wisely. Vert to the moon.